There are so few opportunities at the moment for Irish composers to get their works recorded and get their works distributed outside Ireland. And the purpose of this CD really is as a promotional tool for the composers, almost like a calling card. And even in the age of digital distribution of music, the idea, the concept of a promotional CD is still a very valid one, we find.
I'd been writing a lot of pieces that were, I'd sort of calculated the shape and form of them very closely. So I got this idea of Toccata, which was a door to freedom, you know, because the Toccata is a kind of running piece with lots of energy, no strict format, and it was like opening a door, so you just see what came out of the heavens, if you like. And I was very interested in writing a piece which was very energetic, was essentially a display piece for the performers rather than having any sublime message of any sort, and something that I hope would grab the audience's attention and entertain them.
The title is taken from a title of the same poem by the Belfast-based poet Chris Ig, who's originally from America, but he's been based in Belfast for quite a number of years. And I've worked with him quite a lot over the past number of years, and I really love his work, and we work together very well, and you know, we quite often meet up, so we'd be quite good mates as well as working companions. And this was a poem in a book, and it was really an image. It's basically an image of a lone seagull standing on a spit of rock on the Ards Peninsula. It's a very beautiful part down around Portaferry, and Chris had been there and had seen it and was very inspired by it, and then very quickly came up with this very beautiful five stanza poem. And then whenever I was asked to write a piece for the AXA competition, yeah, without even thinking about it, this just thing in my head came up, oh yeah, there's that poem Seagull. Because I suppose, because I know Chris, I know his work, there's loads of his stuff, you know, that is waiting to be turned into pieces of music.
Essentially it's a concerto for violin and an ensemble of electronic performers. In terms of the first performance was actually at Sonorities Festival, funny enough, featuring Dara Morgan and the Wired Ensemble, which is an ensemble of 6 musicians, all of whom had disabilities and used a variety of sensors to manipulate computer software which processed the sound, often coming from Dara's violin. So essentially I set up, you know, the tried and trusted conflict scenario between the soloist and these musicians who use computers to manipulate the sound. And it was at Dara's request, and he'd seen the Wired Ensemble performing before and was very keen that I write an extended solo work for him, but also featuring these musicians. So that's it in a nutshell.
I wrote it for my ordination to the diaconate, which took place last June in Christchurch Cathedral, and I knew I was writing it for a ceremony that had an awful lot of words, so much text, and everyone would be hanging on each word of the sermon and the vows and that aspect. So I wanted to write a wordless piece in that instance, not to write for choir to look at how, I suppose, kind of represents for me how music can speak, and also how God can speak in all kinds of ways. So it's the piece, I suppose, has a number of different levels. The title Ruach is the Hebrew word for wind, breath and spirit. So I got a wind player, Deirdre O'Leary, to play it. So it was the very symbolism of a wind player was important.
It was a piece that I saw in a number of times. It was a sort of a square, three-dimensional hanging piece, which has these smaller cubes within it. And what was very striking to me was that, in fact, it was a serial piece. And I don't know if you've seen the piece, but it's a work in which you've got acrylic, which is stretched out over these sort of vertices, which are each square has a different amount of vertices, so you get these different shapes. But the whole system is actually quite serial. So I was interested in the pattern of the piece. I was also very interested in the idea of this acrylic and how it actually wrapped around these vertices on the small individual squares. So rotation patterns has the relationship of this acrylic fabric to these wooden vertices in the same way as the piano notes on the sort of the architectonic elements of the piano have with the electronic part, which sort of wraps around these notes and these chords on the piece.
It had a blues flavour in my mind anyway, and actually when I heard it for the first time played by the mid-drum conjuror, it was absolutely jumping out at me. I thought, my God, you'd want to be tone deaf not to hear the blues chord in it, and a lot of it stems from that, the language stems from that. And bluescape, because, well, it's basically a soundscape, it's like an exploration of that particular sonority through the whole piece, rather than any sort of more elaborate sort of development of ideas. It tends to focus on that, and then there's solo interludes for violin and cello to sort of separate out the sections that focus on that material.
It just reflects the activity and the diversity of the work that's being produced by Irish composers. It's very, very wide-ranging in style. There are a lot of different composers represented on this particular CD, and the sheer quality of the performances and the quality of the work makes for a very exciting CD, hopefully.